Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Pulphonics. Check it out! Today's episode is brought to you in part by Fret Rescue. Located in Southeast Michigan, Joe at Fret Rescue has over 17 years of experience as a journeyman luthier. From basic setup to major repairs and restorations, you can put your trust in Fret Rescue. Contact Fret Rescue via email at fretrescue@gmail.com. You can also find them on social media by searching for Fret Rescue, @FERTRESCUE. That's Fret Rescue. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking to Stu and Sean from Pulphonics. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Awesome. I actually had to look. It was back April of 2023. I had talked to Stu. He was on, and I think you had released or just released Art is Money. And
Yep.
now you guys are back, which is very cool. And you've got this new album called Sonic Umami, Volume 1. And
Mhm.
I got to tell you, I mean, I really like the first album, Art is Money. But this album, I think you guys have really like found your groove because there's just this really cool, trippy, psychedelic, like electronica vibe going on. Had me thinking of like Amnesiac by Radiohead, but maybe not quite as dark. But anyway, it's fantastic. So I need to know, like, what inspired? Well, first off, do you feel like that your music has evolved since the last time we talked?
Yes.
And,
Yeah, I would say absolutely.
and what do you think was the influences that are driving that change?
That's I so in Art is Money, I could, at least in the songs that I kind of headed up writing for, I could tell you exactly what the influences were. This was a lot of experimentation.
Ah,
Um, there was hardly anything where I was like, "Oh, I'm going to come in with a Jimi Hendrix style riff here," or I'm
yeah,
going to try and you know uh, rely on a few sources of direct inspiration. I mean, obviously there's a cover song in the mix, so
yeah,
yeah, I
Yeah.
can't. We're not taking credit for that one, but the uh, I don't know. At least for me, it was a lot of. It was more about just experimenting with new sounds, new techniques, than it was pulling off specific sources.
cool. How about you, Sean?
For me personally, I enjoy playing in the rock and blues rock lane, but I think my taste has always drifted more toward more electronic and like I enjoy things like soundtracks from movies and games and
Yeah.
things along those lines, like more orchestral sorts of things. So maybe some of that was an influence too.
Yeah. Well, and I think, on Art is Money, there was some of that kind of orchestral and definitely some sounded to me as influences from like movie soundtracks. And here I think you guys have gone even deeper into that well. And I'm curious about like, do you think as musicians you've evolved into the sound, or is it like Stu, you were saying more just like kind of experimenting and playing and saying, all right, let's just see what we can do.
I think it's a bit
Um,
of both. I would
Okay.
say maybe this you could call more organic songwriting and just the whole recording process. And um, since it is just the two of us, and we've always been pretty comfortable about voicing disagreements about how certain parts might go or whether this works here or doesn't work here.
Yeah.
Um, Luckily, we've never had that friction of personality. So I think just kind of leaning into that, and we just wanted to make something stranger, in a word.
Nice.
But
And
at the same time, we were also, it wasn't strange for the sake of strangeness. It's also things that we thoroughly enjoy making and listening to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you were, there's definitely like some tunes that have, you've even like changed the vocal stylings like quite a bit on some of them where it's more
yeah,
electronic voice, which I think is really cool. And I'm trying to think of like some good comparisons because uh, it, it's not quite as heavy, but there was a band called Cynic back in the day that used to do that kind of, but they were like a death metal band, um, but kind of warped in these kind of like electronic vocals basically, which was very cool. And so, was there anything that was inspiring that, or again, was it just kind of let's just see what we can do with this?
Uh, Vocoding for me and for both of us, Sean vocoded with synthesizer, I vocoded with the guitar. Um, uh, I've always loved songs like Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap, some different Bonnie Bear songs. And it's in the previous album too. I love the talk box.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I, it on the surface to me, it feels like a gimmick sometimes, but at my absolute core, it's complete ear candy, at least to me, in my
hmm
subjective opinion.
yeah.
So
I like, yeah.
I love it. It
that's awesome.
I think it's those thick synth textures that I find appealing. Like sometimes I'll just turn the synth on and just find like really gritty bass and just manipulate the different sound and like till it really digs in with that almost industrial teeth, and then or it could be something very smooth and airy. And um, I think a lot of the time the genre might get a bad rap for like not being authentic music,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think that we are a bit different in that it's all played by hand too. Like we don't really use drum machines or anything like that.
yeah. That's very cool. And I was kind of curious, like, are you, is there any concern as far as like, because this music is so rich and textured, is there any concern for you guys as far as like just trying to pull it off live?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Um, we at this moment we don't have anything scheduled, and we're not planning on scheduling anything in the near future for live
Yeah,
performances.
yeah.
Essentially, before we put out Artist Money, um, our bass player Dustin, he moved, had to step out, and uh, we already had the album pretty much scheduled to be released at that point too, or really close to that point.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the first time Sean and I got together again to work on music, we had no agenda, no songs like thought out to work on. And in an afternoon, we laid down most of the music for the first track, which is something that sounds cool.
Yeah.
That's how a
And
lot of
that's
them
not,
went actually.
yeah, there's a handful that it was just, I don't have any ideas. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any riffs that you want to work on? Or you just see what happens. Either we
Right. Right.
play with something the other one has thought of, or we just try and come up with something on the spot and build off it. And there's, you know, the album shows the good ones.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm a big advocate of the jam becomes uh, a final finished recorded project. I think that
Yeah, yeah. I love
sometimes
that.
just trying to groove until you find some foothold to hang on to and then just let it take you. And sometimes you spend 3 hours really ironing out specifics of parts to put it all together and be like, wow, this does not work at all. But
Yeah,
sometimes, yeah, it all works too. And self-production has been um, a new avenue for me personally and for the both of us. So
yeah.
it's been a
We
lot of learning.
we still outsource the mastering, um, but yeah, it's been I Sean is usually the one hands on with most of the mixing. I'm mostly advising, aka asking Sean to make me louder.
Yep.
Um,
You are
Awesome.
a guitarist at heart.
Yeah, I am. I am. But no, when we started doing music, just the two of us, and changed that routine up, uh, at least I struggled with the thought of like, well, how crazy are we to let ourselves be with this? Because we can just keep adding and adding to these tracks and
Right.
make them these huge behemoth pieces that the two of us could never play with the equipment that we have at
Right.
home.
Although there is
But
a fair amount of technology that would help you for sure.
yeah,
Right.
but no, we just decided, F it, let's go big.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Why
know,
why limit ourselves? And it's been really fun and freeing because I felt like with Art is Money and in that era, we kind of put ourselves in that like bluesy hard rock box
yep.
and tried to stay in that while still pushing it a little bit. Now we're just like, what box? Let's just do whatever we want to do.
Yeah. Well, and like I think Sean, you were mentioning that letting those jams just, turn into tunes. I do agree. That's a great way. Like half the great ideas just come from noodling about, as a band together, and then going, oh, what was that, and
Yeah.
recording it and going, oh, this is perfect, and then you may find some gems that, become distinct songs on their own. But then there could be other things where you try to cobble them together. You have some riffs and ideas, and you think, oh, these will work good together. And then once you get it, when you try to hammer them out, and you spend all this time, you're going, it still sucks. But
Just not it. Yeah.
yeah,
It's disappointing, but
yeah,
I think it all builds um just the way you approach that part of creativity.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the beauty of it, is that it's you guys are doing something you love and you're having fun doing it, and then the end product is something that somebody else can enjoy too. So that's, I think, you know double a
That's
double
really all we're
rainbow.
after. My personal dream would be uh put into an indie game soundtrack
Oh,
or
hell yeah.
a soundtrack for a show or something like that.
For
Partially
sure.
because I could just get like a pre-release copy of
Yeah.
it to play, but
Right.
just I think it'd be cool to be part of that
I'm still aiming
collaborative
for
process too.
I'm still aiming for Shrek 5.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, seriously, I've found some great music from video games that's been embedded. Just I was just talking
Hyper
about
Light
this.
Drifter is one of my favorites.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check that one out. So years ago, I was playing, I don't know, some racing game, and I heard this band. I was talking to another band about this called Doves, and the song was called Catch the Sun, but I would have never heard that if I hadn't been playing that video game. And then I was
Right.
like, holy shit, who's this band? And I want to check them out. I think that same thing could happen with, especially some of these tunes, like, you know, um, I really love Watery Moon. I think that tune
Hell yeah.
is so
Yeah.
cool. That is it's just a great song. Uh, So can you tell me a little bit more about how that song came to be?
I would love to.
Awesome.
Um,
Huh.
it was one of the sessions where we didn't really have a pre-planned agenda of what we were going to work on or what we wanted to try. And I have a looper pedal on my rig, and it's got a decent sized bank. And I was going through samples of things that I had recorded in the past as like, oh, I like this idea for a riff or something, and want to come back to it later. Just didn't have a purpose for it.
Hmm.
And that was one of the riffs. Was that
Oh.
opening riff? Um, Sean here listened to it and was like, "You actually kept time on your own, and it sounds great." And he didn't give me a chance to record it. He just took it off my looper. And then we started layering on it bigger and bigger until uh, the synths come in and take the melody and turn it into the really big ending that it has.
Yeah, very cool. That's fun.
Did I get it, Sean?
Yeah, I got it in one. It was just, I don't know, it was just something different about it. That's why I stopped you, I think.
No, I
guess.
was. I don't care now. In the moment, though, I was like, "That's sacrilege. Don't take it off the looper. Let me record it."
Yeah, I'm like, I should be able to recreate this and redo it. Yeah, so
Nope.
yeah. Nope, we're taking that.
Moving on. All right.
So what was the inspiration for the cover song Ghost Riders in the Sky? And you can't even so I'll be honest with you, it doesn't even sound anything like, what was it? New Riders of the Purple Sage or whoever the hell did it the first time.
It's originally a Western song out of the 30s. And Johnny Cash covered it. He was the first big name to cover it, and it's been covered a billion times since then.
Yeah.
Um, but like I got I had the idea of like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to try and do a vocoded version of Ghost Riders in the Sky, but I didn't really know what to do with the rest of the music because Johnny Cash's version is real bouncy and
Yeah.
doesn't really have that solemnness that I feel like we tried to go after. But if I remember right, Sean was kind of hesitant. I don't want to do a Johnny Cash song. Why are we doing a Johnny Cash song? But we kind of invented a cool process for that song. We just put down, Sean just put down a stable beat for me, and I vocoded with no instrument backing, and then we just started adding to it.
Oh, wow. That's a different approach then. So
Yeah, and
rhythm first and then throw vocals on, so kind of a cappella and then add.
mhm.
Wow, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, the
like
change in the beat to the more classical drum kit sound came
yeah,
later on.
nice. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you wouldn't well, you wouldn't think of it as being a Johnny Cash song. That You guys have made it your own, which again is I think a good thing when you're gonna do a cover. I think you should put your
Yeah.
own thing on it, not try to just make it sound like whoever did it originally.
That
Yeah,
is very much how I feel.
and the lyrics to the song too aren't particularly upbeat. So
Yeah, yeah,
just this
yeah,
sort of endless fate for tragic figures. So
right.
For naughty cowboys.
Yeah.
right.
Uh, so I asked this question knowing that it is nearly impossible for you probably to answer with just one, but what track on the news Sonic Umami is your volume one, your favorite for each of you?
Stu, you go first.
I'm gonna cheat and kind of give two.
All right.
Wow. All right. See what I deal with.
I do actually really personally like Watery Moon.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
it's to me that's like the kind of ambient music that I like. Like that's kind of music I put on when I work and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but the song that I'm the most proud of and probably favor over the others, even though they're all my children, is Get the Work Done.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That's a good one. I like that one as well. Sean, how about you?
Same for me.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all. That's crazy.
I just
Yeah,
like the inner working rhythms of how everything builds together.
That
nice.
that song is like 8 experiments mashed into one. Like
Yeah,
uh
it
the
evolved a lot. It was like three different songs before we chiseled that last part out.
Nice. Nice. So
we played with polyrhythms and just a ton of sounds that we weren't used to playing with.
yeah, that is something cool about that one is that there is that just a lot of uh, I guess for lack of a better word, dynamics. There's
Mhm,
lot there. So what are you
mhm.
hoping that listeners will take away from this new album?
Ooh. Um, Two things come to mind. Um, the first is that I would hope that they would see us, I feel like, coming into our sound. Um, the second, I guess, takeaway from this album is I envision this as an experience. This is the type of thing that personally I would want to pop on a vinyl player if it was on vinyl, and just sit and just take the whole thing in as one big piece.
Yeah.
I feel like we really tried to craft an experience in that way.
Sean, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Personally, I enjoy most when music is sort of transportive. When you become less aware of the world around you and just kind of your mind starts to wander free. And I think some of the tracks can get you there. And I don't know, just maybe call it a reprieve or just a different space to go to for a while. But
Yeah. But definitely has that uh I don't want to say well, I was going to say trance-like, and that's not the right word because it definitely does take you away in that you kind of get caught up in the listening, which obviously is probably what you want, right? You want the listener to not necessarily just tune out and have it be background music per se, but something that they can pick up on. So it may be something where it's something you're listening to and you're working, and then something else where you go, oh, that piece catches your mind, and you kind of delve into the music. So I think you guys have done a good job with capturing those things, at least from my experience. So hopefully
Thanks.
everybody
thank
else
you.
will get
Yeah.
that. So
Still a long road
oh.
ahead, I think. Much to learn.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, really, right?
Hmm.
Is
Mhm.
is is being able to play around and experiment and yeah, just pick up new skills and do that kind of thing. So as creative people, when you get stuck or feel stuck creatively, how do you get out of that? What do you have any things that you do to help yourself kind of get out, get unstuck? I don't know. Who wants to go first? Stu, Sean.
Um, for me personally, well, if it's a matter of we're in the moment trying to jam or work on tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm feeling stuck in that moment, I just kind of lean on Sean to get unstuck. Um, it's not typical that both of us get stuck at the same time, I feel like, in those scenarios.
Yeah, yeah,
But personally, when I'm stuck, like if I'm trying to work on a sound concept at home or work on writing, um, I just kind of let myself be impulsive.
Oh,
So
that's a good idea.
if the folky track that I'm currently working on isn't like clicking for me,
Right.
I just kind of turn that off and just switch to okay, what does sound good to me right now. And it might be I want to play some Jimi Hendrix, or I want to do some blues riffs.
Right.
Um, Sometimes just kind of shifting and letting my thoughts go into something else will help it click back on. Um, Sometimes it just kind of clears the cache and I just come back to it later.
That's good. Good analogy right there. Clear the cache.
Yep.
Sean, how about you?
Um, I would say that making any kind of art is partially inspiration, partially just the work of it. And sometimes just continuing on. And like, let's say you were to be writing a story and you couldn't think about where it went, just keep writing.
Yeah, yeah,
Just make it. I think we as humans are just good at once we do a behavior enough, having it be a habit. So maybe if you just go back and just even if it's not something you plan to take to a full idea musically, just create something.
right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Just
something to keep
don't
your mind
turn the
going.
faucet off
Right, right.
because
Yeah,
it's a lot harder to come back to something you've just sort of dumped off than I'm gonna come back a little piece, maybe later. A little piece. Ooh, this is going somewhere, and then you dig in and get a little
yeah,
bit more done, and it may fizzle out, maybe not, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am a huge sufferer of imposter syndrome. Like, I just can't believe that like anybody thinks that the work that I'm doing is worth a shit sometimes. So I'm curious, do you guys ever suffer from that? And again, I'm kind of picking your brains as far as like how you deal with these things. But if you do suffer from that, like, um, like, how do you like motivate yourself to say, all right, you really do have this?
We all live in a spectrum, I think. It's bad practice to judge other people at a glance. So, I mean, you don't know the story behind some people. Maybe their family were a family of musicians and they grew up in a musical household and had piano lessons at a very young age. I mean, not everybody has that experience or that
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
And I think one of the worst things to hitch to is that you're too old for something, because I don't know, that the joy of like conquering something is implicitly human too, I think. And um do it for your own enjoyment too.
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Because
So
sometimes people like what you like, and you don't know how people are going to receive what you make.
Yeah.
You really can't unless you were to live in your head, which you also can. So
That's
that
true.
was beautiful, Sean. You should put that on a motivational poster.
no,
That's awesome. You know, it is actually really good.
half word salad.
Yeah. uh, Stu, how about you? Do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome?
Yeah, my answer's not going to be quite as graceful. Yeah, I do. In more aspects than just in music too. My way of dealing with it is I tell myself I can't be the first one to feel this way. And I think of, the people that do inspire me or I do look up to
Yeah.
um, in whatever regard. And I just kind of think like I'm sure they felt this way at some point too. Suck it up, Buttercup. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, for sure. You know, and uh, as you were talking and said and saying that, it reminded me because of something else. Uh, is that when you talked about inspiration and people that inspire you, immediately thought of the fact that of people that I've gotten to know that have inspired me, and I say gotten to know because I read their book or something like that. Not like I'm talking to Geddy Lee or something like that, but or Dave Grohl, or whoever. Um, but they're just regular people. Like, and sometimes it's when you, at least for myself, I can't speak for everyone. You might compare your work to somebody else's and then go, oh, this is, it's fine, but it's not that. But those folks were just like regular dudes, right? They still are. I mean, they live in a different, like, like Sean, you were saying, slightly different spectrum than I do, but, you know, uh, they're still probably thinking the same way that I do about like, oh, this is fucking not good enough or whatever, right? So yeah, it's crazy.
Oh,
It's
yeah, I can trash my self confidence in seconds if I really go after it.
I know it seems like as humans we're like really super good at that. I don't know why, but we are.
hmm
Yeah. So so you mentioned that you weren't too worried about doing live music or recreating this live, but do you have any plans like in the future to do shows or do anything like that, or is it just going to stick to like recording projects, which is totally a good valid way to have a band?
I I think at the moment we're going to stick to recording projects.
Nice,
If we got more demand for to do live performances, we would definitely consider it.
nice.
Um,
A lot
but
of logistics to figure out first.
yeah,
Yeah,
we have a lot of logistics that we'd have to figure out, which means like us trying to perform any of the Sonic Umami material um is it's just not worth, the what you're gonna make in a bar one night. Like
yeah, yeah.
And I'm not trying to diss on those outlets. It just uh, for the two of us, the amount of work it would be, just the payoff isn't worth it. And we've had a lot of fun just being a recording band.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
and why not? It's fun, it's rewarding, and you don't have to haul your shit around, right?
Right.
right. Well, I mean, it's because we had done Artist Money in a more traditional manner, but between Artist Money and Sonic Umami, we did a film score for an independent film.
Oh, cool.
Um, and like, I'm not going to say the film score is the greatest thing ever. We had a really tight deadline to pull it together, and it
You're
did get
really
a lot of
selling it
compliments
now,
from the.
pal.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of those things where I'm like looking back, we've learned so much
Yeah.
more about how to do this with
Yeah,
Sonic Umami,
yeah,
and I feel kind of bad because the Hellfire Hades soundtrack that we did, I feel like could have been so much better if we did it now. But that was kind of also it
Hey,
helped as kind of like a learning. There was a lot of lessons that we learned in that.
right.
some people like that rough cut though. Not
Yeah,
everybody likes a really clean processed sound. Some people like it dirty, and
Yeah.
I mean
no,
noise bands exist, man. People love that stuff.
Right.
yeah, yeah. Um,
So that makes
but
me, oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. Oh,
Oh no, I was just basically just gonna say, yeah, like that's just where we are right now.
yeah, no, I totally valid and a great way to, keep making music. That's the whole point. When you were talking, a thought flashed in my head when you were talking about we've learned so much. Do you, thinking back, like go all the way back to when you were kids first starting to get into music and then all the things that have gone on now, um, if you were going to pass on like one little piece of little nugget that you gathered, and it's a truckload of stuff you learned over the course of your life, what would something be that you would want to pass on to somebody else? I know it's a tough
Asking good
question, but
questions. Yes, yeah.
yeah.
I think I got one. I feel like it's a lesson that took me decades to get as a musician. Um, was and we kind of touch on it in something that sounds cool is uh, when you're writing a song, it should be about the big picture of the song. It should be writing to make the song the best, not the writing the best, if that makes sense. Like, um, I was that kid in my bedroom growing up that was constantly running through scales and trying to shred like Van Halen and all these other people.
Yeah.
And I tried making super complicated things for no good reason. Um, had one of those spider amps that had the insane distortion sounds and
Oh yeah.
would just go nuts with all that stuff. Um, but it's taken me a while to, I guess, mature in my songwriting to learn that like write the song for the song, not for the other influences.
Yeah.
Uh, Treat it like a piece of art as a holistic thing. Which means being willing to trim the fat off it, take parts away, change them, be willing to change them, be malleable.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like that was a long journey to get to that answer, but we got there.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I
Sean.
would say you move at your own pace, baby. Don't like you were saying before, that inclination to see other people doing what you're doing and just dog on yourself super hard. But
Yeah.
um there's value in learning skills like that, and just being able to play something and listen to it and vibe with yourself. It's a great feeling.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So I'm always curious about what folks are consuming outside of music, and I've not really asked this question too much. And that is like, so any like recent like great books that you've read or movies you watched or maybe a a series that you stream that's been like, this was really awesome that that I can pick up on. uh,
I watched The Boy and the Heron the other
oh,
week.
all right,
Excellent animated film.
nice,
Yeah, it was.
Yes, I'm more into animated stuff, I think, than live action for the most
nice,
part.
cool. And where was that on?
That was on
I think
Netflix, I believe, or
Oh,
Amazon Prime, one of the
okay,
two.
one of the two.
I
All right.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say if it's on Netflix, I'm gonna be mad because I bought it on Prime.
I did too. Yeah,
Um,
it probably wouldn't be on Netflix at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
Prime
All right.
Video. There we go.
All right, Prime. Cool.
um,
Awesome. Stu, how about
that's
you?
actually the last anime I watched. Also,
Oh, all right.
I haven't made a lot of time to do much reading lately, but I just got caught up on The Boys, um,
Nice.
and I'm watching Sweet Home right now,
Oh, all right. Cool.
which is that's on Netflix. It is a Korean. It's based on a Korean manga, and it's made in Korea, but the it's a action horror series, kind of like a Korean Walking Dead, but not zombies exactly.
Nice. I think I watched part of that or started to watch it. Um, I've been really enjoying, well, and I've already blown through it, is it's on, I think it's on Amazon. It's Outer Range. So it's basically a Western with science fiction, so that basically
Ooh.
there's a hole in this person's ranch in, I think it's Wyoming, and uh, it it's a hole that travels through time, and so
Oh,
it's
so they could like look in and see different historical events, or
yeah, they can't really see anything, but when someone goes into it, they end up somewhere else in
oh,
time.
that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, so
I'll have to check that out.
yeah,
You said Outer Range.
Outer Range. Yeah, yep,
Outer Range.
yep,
Okay.
Outer Range. It's got Josh Brolin. Do you remember him from
Oh yeah,
No Country for Old Men? Is what I think of him from. Um,
Thanos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. I forgot that he was Thanos. Oh man, that's awesome. So how about albums? Any albums you guys have listened to recently that you really enjoyed, besides your own?
Besides our own, I love the Jack White album that came out the same day as ours.
Oh, I see. I haven't heard it yet, and I heard that it's really killer, but I still haven't checked it out. I'm gonna have to
It's
give it a
it's
listen.
it's like he tried to. I don't even know if he tried, but it's uh, very much reminds me of early White Stripes.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Very
Just a
cool.
nice raw feel. It sounds like it was done live. Um, just yeah.
Nice. Sean, how about you?
Not a new album, but I've been rocking some Animals as Leaders lately. Been kind of
Oh,
into that.
nice.
Yeah.
That's
Like
great.
Pliny and
Yeah,
those sorts of bands. Yeah.
yeah. Excellent.
I like that like mixed meter. Gent adjacent, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my, one of those guilty pleasures. I like Gent. I'll say
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man. You should.
it.
I was just listening to something where somebody was saying you should just. There is no such thing as a guilty pleasure. If you like it, you like it. So
Yes.
that's cool.
I like Gent.
So uh, that kind of reminds me of something else I was curious about, and that uh, is there something that each of you enjoy that you think is um, like kind of, I don't know, if somebody that knew you would go, oh wow, that's kind of wild. I didn't realize they like that. So like Sean, you were talking about, yeah, I like gent music, but uh, is there something that somebody would be like, oh shit, I didn't know you would like that, based on, and I'm thinking of, they're thinking of you as the music you make and that kind of persona. So would they go, whoa?
Maybe the band Clowncore. That
Clown.
surprise people.
I have no idea what that band is. I'm gonna have to check it out. What kind of style would you say that is?
Um,
It's clowncore.
yeah, it's like like hard industrial. Um, there's like some drum and bass elements in it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's two people as well, and one of them plays synth and drums and quote sings end quote. And the other plays saxophone and some keys too, but they shred. He is an insane drummer.
That's crazy. All right. I'll have to check that one out. Stu, how about you?
Ah, I'm trying to think of uh oh yeah, you know what? Here's my guilty pleasure. I like Nickelback.
All right. That is a well, I might have to classify that as a guilty pleasure. No.
I mean,
That's, have you always liked them or did you
yeah.
yeah?
I mean, I think Photograph was on the radio way too much, way too long.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've always liked them. I've never looked at them like I look at Jimi Hendrix as like a founder of the rock scene that
Mhm.
created this path that all guitarists took. I
Yeah.
don't really accredit Nickelback to anything like that. They're just a fun band.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually totally fine, I think, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of great like bands that, they're not, I mean, honestly, we're all, even Hendrix, we're all like building off of everybody else's shit, right? Unless
Hmm.
you go back to the very first guy that grabbed a guitar, whoever that was, it probably simultaneously happened in multiple continents, but, um, it's just like we're all kind of building off that. And when you when you mentioned when we were talking about Nickelback, I was also thinking about there are bands that um, they just get played so much that you just can't stand them after a while. Like so for the
Yeah.
longest time, like Tom Petty, because I'm like a good bit older than you guys, but when I was working and I used to work in a meat room when I was in high school, cleaning it up, which is a trip. Let me tell
Oh yeah.
you. So, but anyway, the store, like Tom Petty was like always on and like constantly, and I fucking hated it. I was like, fuck Tom Petty. He sounds like shit. But now I listen, I'm like, oh, you know what? He was actually pretty good. Well, he's actually a great songwriter. And I dissed on him for the longest time. Him and Bruce Springsteen. Couldn't stand either one of them for the longest time because they were constantly on. I'm like, fuck these guys. But
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
I
summer of '69 by Brian
oh my
Adams.
oh
god.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
maybe I'm still in that sicko phase.
uh,
I'm still in that phase for most Christmas music.
right.
I had to work I managed restaurants for several years, and it was like mandated that the day after Thanksgiving until January 10th
Yeah.
would be a Christmas XM station that would play, and it was like the same 60 songs in a loop or something.
Yeah.
So like I'll go into a blind rage if I hear I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. I just
Yeah, and it's typically the most saccharine kind of music too. But I'll tell you, one Christmas album I can listen to all the time, even when it's not Christmas, is Vince Guaraldi. The Charlie Brown Christmas, the
yeah.
soundtrack
Yeah.
for that.
Oh yeah.
Christ, that is
Yeah.
so good all the time, man.
Yeah, that hazy
Yeah.
jazz.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
it's so good, so good. So,
I yeah,
oh,
I'll
go
have to
ahead.
check that out. I was just saying I'll have to check that out because what Christmas music I did start tolerating when I had a saying it was I found like Christmas lo-fi stations.
Right.
Because it was subtle enough. It wasn't jingle bells in your face.
Yeah.
Uh, so I might have to check that one out.
Or Dean Martin, Baby It's Cold Outside. Like,
No,
oh,
can't do that
Christ.
one.
Which is a strange tune anyway. Um, I was
Yeah.
gonna, yeah, it's like a date rape song or something. But I was gonna ask you guys, so Sonic Umami is volume one. I'm gonna guess volume two is in the works. Is
Yes.
Yes. Um,
Yeah,
we have like we're in the tail end of it.
All
Got a
right.
little bit more tracking to do. I'm hitting the mix hard and getting it
that's
mastered.
my shift. Yep.
That's his shift. Yeah. Um, um, would like to say like conservatively hope to have it out within 6 months.
Nice. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, there's no rush. You just got this one out, so let it
I mean
savor,
we
let it get out
That's
there.
that's what we're after right now, honestly. It's just build a good catalog
yeah
of music.
Yeah. And I
yeah
think that's you know, that's what artists should do is like build up that kind of stock of their work because, as it's sort of like we were talking about earlier, um, you don't have to have it all done right away. You can like just take a day at a time doing these things, getting it, building it up. So
Oh, yeah.
you've got this whole volume of great work out there now. You're crafting the next one, but yeah,
mhm,
it's perfect. It's a great way to just like keep building up the catalog and making it. And as it goes, you're just like it's only going to get more awesome. So
Yeah, I mean, we
mhm,
both have day jobs, so this is
right.
just a really nice, just creative outlet for us both, I think. And we have good chemistry and there's a lot of music left. So
That's cool.
yeah.
that way, if we don't go through that drought, hey, we got the backlog.
Exactly. Exactly.
With building up our content too.
Oh, don't
Um,
not content, not that
Yeah.
word,
Oh, yeah.
please.
Don't use that word. Oh,
Ugh,
it's horrible.
uh, Erecting our
ichor coming out
library.
of my mouth.
There you go.
Um, the
Our
other thing too,
craft.
yeah. The other thing too is as we keep putting more out, like there's going to be those single songs like Watery Moon, like for
Hmm.
you, like how that one stuck out. There's going to be those songs that stick out, and people will want to see if they can find more. And I would love to be able to be like, there's so much more.
There is a
Yeah.
cluster of watery moons, if you would
You're
only
like,
find it.
it's it's so disappointing to me when I hear um a single from an artist I've never heard of,
Yeah.
and I go and look, and there's like one or two other things, and they're just other singles, and you could see that like they've released four songs in like 6 years, and it's like, oh, okay, well, it looks like this is really all there is, and there's probably not more coming,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they just kind of slip into oblivion for
Yeah.
me.
Well, yeah, I'm with you too because if I find something I enjoy, then I'm hoping that they've got at least a couple more, well, more than a couple of songs, right? Because like you said, then you can kind of immerse yourself in it. If they don't have it
Hmm.
yet and it's taking so long to get something else out, then you do kind of like, oh, well, something else. I mean, as bad as it sounds, your attention gets pulled away to somewhere else and it's like, sorry, I forgot about you. But that's
Hmm.
kind of the nature of humans, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
tough in the social media age too. Like that's the wall we're up against really, is that
Oh, Christ,
there's
yeah.
this mountain of, you know,
Yeah.
how many new artists there are that come out every day.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I think the product wins out in the end. Let's just, corporatize the whole thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with the social media algorithms because it's crazy. I mean, I know for a fact that I see maybe not even a tenth of everything that's out there that I potentially could see that I would want to see, and I really don't have any good uh, like uh, solutions for getting around it. Although I do think, and this is something that we've been doing, like so me and my wife, we have Life in Michigan, Fans with Bands is part of that kind of stuff, and there's a guy, Seth. Oh God, I'm gonna blow his last name. Seth Workner. I'd have to look. Anyway, he was talking about like how bands should really cultivate, basically going back in time a little bit to email lists and kind of talking to your fans directly as opposed to just whipping your shit out onto social media and hoping to God somebody finds it. to try to actively curate those kind of experiences with people, to reach out to them and talk with them and then say, hey, I got this music and you might be interested in it. And, you know, getting into these groups and stuff like that. And so we've been doing that. We started last year, you know, writing a newsletter, and it's been a lot of fun just because it's, you know, it's not the things we usually typically publish. We just kind of go off on our own, and there's a lot of personal essays and such. But I guess where I was going with all that is that might be an avenue for you guys just to try to cultivate that, you know, as more people get into some of those non-social media type things, it might be an avenue.
Yeah, that's very much my grind.
Just got to print a whole bunch of vinyls and just
Yeah.
roll around on hoverboards and throw them out to people.
I wish. I wish.
Pulphonics.
Yeah.
Pulphonics is here.
Right.
You know, when the band changed from a 3-piece to a 2-piece, we were way more focused on just seeing what we could create, not really thinking about getting it out there
Yeah.
for a while.
It was just easier too with you know, a guitar player, a bass player, a drummer, we can all sing. It's just the performances are just natural because for the most part, that music, there were some like synth elements here and there, but way more sparing. So it's easy to play it live as it was to record, but the stuff's just a little different.
Yeah. Well, and I think it probably appeals to a very different, well, not completely different, but a different audience. And trying to reach those folks and get that out there is tough because you're still dealing with the whole level of everything else out there. But uh, you know, I think if you are trying to just cultivate those listens, you know, one person at a time, that's probably the uh, best method. And then one person becomes two, and two becomes three, and blah blah blah. You
Yeah.
know.
I will say, and I'm gonna do a slight bit of shameless plugging here when I say
All
this.
right.
Um,
That's
we
the
are
point.
active on Facebook, Instagram, and actually LinkedIn. And
Popping off on LinkedIn.
we actually have a bigger following on LinkedIn than we do on Instagram. It's bizarre.
That's crazy.
You know, middle
It is.
management loves this.
um,
Great.
uh, I'm usually very responsive when people reach out. And you know, from managing social media in my work too, I know it's important to make those levels of engagement.
Mhm.
But it's also like it's it's a joy to me too. Like if you're gonna reach out and ask me a question about the music, I'm thrilled to answer you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're a bot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Then you can fuck off.
yes,
Just
You're
ask
listening.
good to
If you're
divide
listening
by
to me,
fuck
negative
off
zero.
yeah,
all the way.
yeah. If you're listening to me,
Um,
AI overlord, fuck off.
so if you're listening, please follow us on one of those platforms. But
Yeah.
in addition, though, we actually do have an email sign up on our website.
Oh, awesome.
Um,
Cool.
it
I
maybe
need to get
has a
on it
dozen
then.
or so people in it. But if that builds up a little bit more, I would be happy to do more regular updates and things.
Well,
Um,
I think like you were saying, Stu, is that the as long as you're being authentic and being responsive and just kind of sharing like your whole process and the evolution of your music and all that stuff in as many aspects as possible, I think people are intrigued by that as well. And then when they
mhm.
hear the music, they're gonna go, "Oh shit, this is cool." You know, I dig this song. I want to go check out Watery Moons, and I want to hear the constellation of Watery Moons.
Mhm.
Yes, the moon manda.
That's right. Awesome. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for being on Fans with Bands. And
Absolutely. Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us. Yeah,
yeah, hell
this
yeah.
was nice.
Awesome. And I've got one last question. Last time I asked about pizza with stew, but I'm going to hold that one. Well, I'll ask Sean if you like pineapple or no pineapple on pizza.
Pineapple, absolutely. All day.
right. All right. And then
Sweet
the
and
question.
savory.
All right.
Great combo.
That's where our chemistry comes from. That's how we can work so well together.
Yep.
The power of pineapple.
Nice. And then the question for both of you is, what is your favorite breakfast food? Who wants to go first? Stu?
I love a good breakfast sandwich, sausage, egg, and cheese.
Nice. Very nice. Excellent.
And yeah, the delivery, whether it's a donut or a bagel or a muffin or a sourdough, whatever, like
Right.
as long as that part is quality, I'm in for it.
Yeah, that
That
sounds
is the way to my heart.
good. Excellent. Sean, how about you?
If I had the choice, a crepe would be excellent.
A crepe. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Anything
Wait,
else?
like,
Anything
Bit
with
of
the crepe?
hazelnut on top, maybe some
Oh.
sliced strawberries,
Nice.
a little bit of good whipped cream.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Awesome.
Can't go wrong.
I know. Now, see, the problem with this question now is I'm hungry. So
I could always eat a crepe.
I know. So, yeah. To me, breakfast isn't just for breakfast. I mean, you can have it.
No, I have cereal at night all the time.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
we do breakfast for dinner probably once a week in our house.
Oh, that's awesome. I need to do that more. I used to do it when we were kids. Like
Cream of wheat is a sleeper. I'll say that.
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh, now
I'm telling you, when you have it, you're like, I could have some cream of wheat, and then you have it, and you're like, oh, damn, I forgot how good this was.
Oh, fantastic. Well, guys, thanks again for being on Fans with Bands. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for having us.
All right.
Check us out.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Many thanks to Sean and Stu from Pulphonics for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. It was great to catch up with these guys and talk about their new album, Sonic Umami Volume 1. We chatted about the changes in songwriting and the freedom it has given them to explore. There are plenty of more Sonic adventures, as Pulphonic already has another album in the works. See the show notes for all the details and links. Bands are nothing without you, the fans. Purchasing music and merchandise is critical to their survival. If you can help out your favorite bands, please do. If you're in Michigan, consider following the Playing in Detroit Area Tonight and SE for Southeast Michigan Music Facebook pages. They are fantastic places for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show, telling your friends, telling your neighbors, telling your family, telling your priest, tell everyone, and leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.